My fiancée is mute but stunningly beautiful, so I always leave her behind on purpose, just to hide aside and watch her eyes turn red from crying. Later, her vocal cords recovered. While I was sleeping, she tied me to the bed with chains. Then she took off what she was wearing on her legs, the white silk, and stuffed it into my mouth, leaning down and giggling in my ear. My dear husband, you bullied me for so long. It's time for me to collect some interest. After the on-stop service of getting the certificate and the wedding, I was packed and sent into the room of the wealthy young lady. It's your blessing to marry the eldest miss. Run again and it'll break all 3 of your legs. The bodyguards threw me into the room and locked the door. My mind was in a daze. Memories that didn't belong to me came flooding in. I had transmigrated into a book and became a simp male supporting character, offered to the wealthy lady by family greedy for a huge dowry. Just because, although this eldest miss is immensely wealthy, she suddenly lost her voice and became mute. The ending in the book was also miserable. Clearly, towards this simp male character she was responsive to every plea, treating him as a husband to spend life with. But the male supporting character only knew how to simp for the female lead, even to help her seize the family property. They united to let this eldest miss perish in a fire. Of these 2 women, one is stupid, and one is evil. I don't want to get involved. I pulled out a few strands of hair, inserted them into the keyhole. A few seconds later, the door opened. Looking up, I locked eyes with a woman. She seemed to be startled, her small mouth slightly open. She clearly had an extremely beautiful appearance, but at this moment she looked cute and dazed. She had a great figure, and extremely fair skin, looking like it would turn red with just a pinch. I was completely dazed. Having lived for most of my life, I had never seen such a beautiful woman. If only my wife were her. At that moment, the nanny caught up, shielding the woman behind her, and said earnestly, "Eldest miss, how can you run around like this? Your husband loves you so much. What if he takes the chance to hurt you?" My mind suddenly exploded. Good heavens, that actually really was my wife. I seriously suspect if this simp has a hole in his brain, having such a top-tier wife and yet not knowing how to cherish her, but insisting on being the female lead simp instead. My phone's lock screen is a photo of the female lead. She barely counts as a gentle little beauty, but compared to the woman just now, they are worlds apart. With a wife like this, why escape? Even if it's a mountain of knives or a sea of fire, I have to charge through. By the time I caught up, the banquet had already begun. Liu Ruoyan, as the eldest miss of the Liu family, stood in the corner ignored by everyone. On the contrary, although the female lead Liu Shiman is an illegitimate daughter who shouldn't be seen in public, she was surrounded by people. Seeing me, a flash of obvious disgust crossed her eyes. True, after all, the original owner used to stick to her like glue. Someone whispered something. A wicked smile slowly curved on Liu Shiman's lips. She sat down on a chair, stretched a leg out in front of me, and chuckled, "Brother-in-law, my shoes are dirty." My brain exploded with a bang. I suddenly remembered this plot point in the book. To humiliate Liu Ruoyan, the female lead, publicly made the man who was married to Rian wipe blood for her. The male supporting character was the female lead's ultimate simp, and he actually happily ran over to do it, losing all face for both himself and Liu Ruoyan. I sneered in my heart, pretending to be obedient and doing as told. When passing by, the waiter tripped him inconspicuously. The next second, all the drinks in his tray poured down onto Liu Shiman's head. The waiter was furious, started screaming. I feigned surprise. The waiter surely didn't do it on purpose. There are so many people watching now. Sister Shiman, you wouldn't risk ruining your own reputation to bicker with a waiter over such a small matter, would you? Liu Shiman bit her teeth, replied, "Of course, that's good then. Sister indeed has the upbringing of the Liu family. Liu Shiman is just a child raised by a mistress. What kind of upbringing could she have?" Anyone with a clear eye knows I'm being sarcastic. Liu Shiman's face turned ashen, stood up abruptly. I was just about to speak. Unexpectedly, the next second, Liu Ruoyan actually stepped forward proactively and stood in front of me. She said nothing, just frowned and stared at Liu Shiman. And the other party backed down. Liu Shiman seemed very wary of this legitimate eldest daughter. She bit her teeth, prepared to compromise, but her arm was grabbed by Liu Ruoyan. Sister, no longer bothered by it. "What else do you want to do?" Liu Ruoyan opened her mouth. It was easy to recognize by the shape of her lips. She said, "Apologize." Although outsiders are unaware, thinking Liu Shiman was in her glue. Rai, having secured the position of heir. But she knows very well herself. Most of the Liu family shares are still held by Liu Ruoyan. As long as Liu Ruoyan is unwilling, kicking her out of the house is just a matter of moving a finger. Sure enough, her face froze. But she still lowered her posture and bowed to me respectfully to apologize. "Sorry, I hope brother-in-law won't hold a grudge against the lesser person." I felt extremely refreshed in my heart, and also felt very heartwarmed. Such a lovely young lady. How could she end up with the tragic fate of dying in a fire? I secretly vowed that I must not let the plot in the book happen. Halfway through the family feast, I went to the restroom and just turned the corner. A hand covered my mouth and pressed me against the wall. Liu Shiman looked aggrieved. "Brother Feng, have you forgotten our agreement? Why did you help Liu Ruoyan against me just now?" I was completely bewildered. Did the original host and she have some secret deal? What agreement? What was it again? Brother Feng is so bad, pretending to have amnesia with me. Didn't you say marrying my sister was to work together from inside and out? To help me fight for the family inheritance? Don't worry, once I become the heir of the Liu family, the first thing I'll do is marry you. Good grief, in the book you did become the heir, but the person you married was my brother. What a pair of scoundrels they are. I decided to go along with it, and said, I did that just to gain the trust of the eldest Miss Liu. My heart has always been with you, of course. Then you'll be waiting for your good news. Liu Shiman smiled shyly. Before leaving, she didn't forget to throw me a flirtatious wink. I felt a wave of nausea. Last night's food, almost vomited it all out. Looking up, I unexpectedly bumped into a figure. Half of Lu Ruyan's body was shrouded in darkness. Her expression was indistinguishable. Help, how much did she actually hear? I was so embarrassed I didn't know what to say. Walked closer and tentatively spoke. How long have you been here? He thought for a moment. Then took my hand. And wrote a line of words in my palm. What do you think? My heart tightened. Oh no, he must have heard it. I don't want him to misunderstand. But don't know how to explain. After all, before, Yuan Nanner did indeed do many things to hurt him. At night, everyone had to stay overnight at the Liu residence. Liu Ruoyan and I have already registered our marriage. So a room was arranged for the two of us. He pointed at me and then at the sofa. The meaning was obvious. The first day of marriage. And she wants me to sleep alone. I ask what man in this world could agree to that? Don't I want to be close to my wife? Under the warm light, the atmosphere became ambiguous for a moment. I couldn't help but take Liu Ruyan's hand. She blushed and glared at me, puffing up like a little pufferfish. My heart warmed. Just as I was about to lean in. The next second, she ruthlessly kicked me to the sofa. Forget it, I shouldn't rush things. I have to give her a process to adapt. The next day when I woke up, only I was left in the room. Alone, the bed Lu Ruoyan slept in had a faint fragrance. Even a strand of hair left on the pillow was excessively exquisite and beautiful. Truly worthy of being my dear wife. A knock suddenly sounded at the door. When I opened it, it was actually Lu Shiman. So early in the morning. What bad luck. Her gaze fell on the side of my face. Her expression sank. Silent for a long time. I tried to squeeze out a gentle smile. Sister Shiman, is there something you came to see me for so early? She then snapped out of it. Tomorrow, Lu Ruyan and I will jointly compete for a project. You go and steal her presentation PPT. Help me win this project. Calling you a villain really isn't an injustice. Don't worry, Sister Shiman, I guarantee the task will be completed. Her eyes were deep. Staring at me, she said something cryptically. I suddenly started to feel lucky. That she is a mute now. When I went to wash up, I saw myself in the mirror besides that handsome face as always. There was actually a clear lip print on my left cheek. I clearly remember. It wasn't there before I went to sleep. TSK. I didn't expect it. Lu Ruoyan's angelic appearance hides a passionate heart. Saying no with her mouth. But her body is very honest, This woman, the next day. Liu Ruoyan was going to the dating site. At that time, I shamelessly got into the car. Liu Ruoyan was still sulking. Naturally unwilling. I deliberately leaned close to her, pointed to my left cheek, and spoke leisurely. Oh, I don't know what happened this morning. A lip print suddenly appeared on my face. And only the two of us were in the room all night. Wife, who do you think did it? Liu Ruoyan's expression froze. Sigh, maybe a scoundrel broke in the middle of the night. Wife, you must stand up for me. She became completely quiet, letting me lazily hold her waist, being incredibly well behaved all the way. After successfully arriving at the company, Liu Shiman and I met in the restroom. I stuffed the USB drive into her palm. Sister Shiman, everything is here. You will definitely win in a moment. She didn't speak, just staring intently at that faint lip print on my left cheek. It took a long time before letting out a soft Not long after the meeting began, Liu Ruoyan was the first to explain. Although she couldn't speak, she wrote everything she wanted to express on the PPT. Concise and to the point. Except for some technical terms. Even a layman like me understood most of it. The executives naturally had no trouble reading it. The more they looked, the more satisfied their expressions became. This was clearly different from what Lu Shiman expected. I was afraid she would realize, so I quickly handed over a firm look. She also nodded back at me, took a deep breath, and opened the PPT. Then, as it was projected, a series of restricted images appeared before everyone. The room was in an uproar. The executives present were so angry their faces turned from red to white. Liu Shiman cried out. No, there must be some mistake. Mr. Zhang, Mr. Wang, listen to my explanation. The facts are right there. Any further explanation seems hollow. How ridiculous. The two executives stormed out. This project naturally fell to Liu Ruoyan. I was snickering all the way. Just as we got home, Liu Ruoyan suddenly approached, forcing me back step by step, until she pinned me against the wall. She pulled my hand. Stroke by stroke, wrote down a few words. Did you do? I thought for a moment. Looked down and cupped her face. No need to thank me, honey. It's what I should do. She curled her lips into an ambiguous smile. Took out her phone and typed a line. My assistant just explained the content of that PPT to me. It seems the resources you have are quite extensive. I couldn't help but blush. When the beauty isn't shocked, she's truly irresistible. Before long, Yu Shiman questioned me on WeChat. What on earth happened today? I haven't had enough fun yet. Of course, I had to keep coaxing her. It's all my fault. Liu Ruoyan was already on guard against me, and intentionally set a trap for us. We fell for it completely. Everyone says Liu Ruoyan is meticulous and calculating. A simple-minded person like me, blinded by love, is no match for her. It's only natural. Liu Shiman didn't say much, else just told me to look for another chance next time. I had just lied down to sleep. When I was drawn to the caller ID on my phone, I stared at it for a while, and my interest grew stronger. It really is time to go meet that stepbrother of mine. When the original owner was very young, the original owner's mother took him and married this stepfather was biased, and his biological son was spoiled and overbearing. He had bullied and suppressed the original owner since childhood. The original owner's mother needed to rely on that man to survive, so she always took the side of that father and son. Her own biological son was like a weed in suppression and grievance. Growing up, seeing the original owner grow more handsome, That family couldn't wait to send him into a wealthy family, in exchange for a huge dowry. It was truly disgusting. I had just entered the door, when a middle-aged woman greeted me warmly. Xiaofeng, we're finally back. Sit down and rest for a bit. Even if I wasn't asked to, I would still do it. I came back for a visit, not to act as a nanny. But just as my butt touched the sofa, a sharp voice suddenly rang out. Yifeng, calling you back. Wasn't so you could act like a lord with so much kitchen work. Are you blind and didn't see it? He seemed not to have had enough. Continued to eat. Laughed and said, let me tell you. A sparrow will always be a sparrow. Don't think that marrying a mute can change anything. This person must be the original host stepbrother Tongsan. He's not tall, and as for his looks, he can't even compare to one of my fingers. At this, I laughed. Deliberately narrowed my eyes, sizing him up from head to toe. Finally, showing an extremely disdainful expression. This brother is truly blind. After all these years. Haven't you realized? Who actually looks like they have the fate of a sparrow? Tang-san. As if his tail had been stepped on. Jumped up right then. Mom, come quickly and deal with Xiaofeng. Look at what you're saying. Apologize to your brother right now. I sprawled on the sofa with my legs crossed. Casually agreed. Being too handsome, and not leaving my brother a way out, is indeed my fault. I'm going to tear your mouth apart. Tang-san was furious, rushing over wanting to hit me. I just silently stuck out a leg, and he fell flat on his face. Sigh, I couldn't help but worry for him. Looking at this stupid and clumsy appearance. How can he compete with me? The stepfather was disturbed by the noise, and came out of the study. He actually knew I had arrived long ago, deliberately hiding, wanting Tang-san to give me a warning first, to dampen my spirits. And then he would step in as the good guy to stop it, and incidentally make a small request of me. So it would be hard for me to refuse. But the scene before him was clearly not what he expected. Tang-san scrambled up and rushed to the man to complain. Dad, this little bastard dared to hit me. The stepfather's face darkened, then thought of something. The words at the tip of his tongue took a sharp turn, and he even gave me a kind smile. Xiaofeng, don't lower yourself to your brother's level. He's still young and doesn't know any better. I waved my hand. Of course, after all, a brother indeed. Is he still young, or just a 24-year-old giant baby? I don't just understand. I understand perfectly well. The man choked for a moment. His face looked unpleasant, but he still forced a stiff smile. Xiaofeng, as expected of someone who married into a wealthy family. The way you speak is really becoming more and more humorous. He walked closer and finally changed the subject. You are now part of the Liu family after all. Helping your brother marry the second young lady of the La family shouldn't be a difficult task for you, right? Actually, the two of them are already in love. It's just asking you to give them a little push. You wouldn't refuse to help with such a small family matter, would you? Oh boy, the speaking level of this father is truly something else. To be able to speak such shameless words so logically. Back then, he despised the eldest Miss Liu for being a mute. Yet he was greedy for money. So he sent the original host there. Now he even wants to morally kidnap the original host, to pave the way for his biological son. It seems all the good things in the world are taken by this father and son. The original host's mother also got back together. Yes, Xiaofeng, we are only truly a family. These are all things you should do. I laughed again, but this time it was a laugh of anger, feeling deeply that it wasn't worth it for the original host. Just now when Tang-san called his son a little bastard, he watched coldly from the sidelines, not daring to say a word. Now, he has the nerve to mention being a family. Whether this father and son ever treated the original host as family, he knows better than anyone. But then, I suddenly thought of a more interesting way to play. Sure, if I help, it'll definitely help well. I sent the card number to my stepfather. But smoothing out relations within the Liu family costs a lot. How about this? Let's start with a casual 5 million. If it's not enough, he'll ask you for more. Tang-san exclaimed, 5 million is casual? Why don't you just go rob someone? I feigned regret. Sigh. It seems younger brother is worried that it's not easy for uncle to earn money. It's okay, I won't force it. After all, the Liu family is nothing special. Aren't they just a century-old prestigious clan? With a network spanning the globe? Isn't it just family assets of a mere tens of billions? The man lost his footing, almost falling flat on his face. He swallowed hard with difficulty. Trembling, he spoke, give it now, however much is needed must be given. Whoa, there's an unexpected harvest. I walked out happily, holding the bank card and giving it a big kiss. Looking up, I actually saw Liu Shimen. It really is a small world for enemies. He stepped forward and asked, what are you doing here, coming back to see my brother? His name is Tang-san. He really is a very well-behaved boy, rushing to give me money. How could he not be well-behaved? Liu Shimen's expression shifted, but I still caught it. I remember this plot point. Tang-san made up an excuse to invite Liu Shimen to his home to meet his parents. Tang-san had helped Liu Shimen once by chance when she was down. Since then, in the female lead's heart, he left an impression of a kind and exemplary youth. This is also why in the book, despite Tang-san's average looks, he was eventually able to enter a wealthy family. Seeing that the time for the two to meet was approaching, I deliberately held on to Liu Shimen. Brother Feng, I suddenly thought. I found some ways to deal with Liu Ruyan. Why don't we find a place to have a good talk? She frowned slightly, looking a bit hesitant. I gritted my teeth, going all out. I pinched my thigh hard, instantly squeezing out 2 tears. Sister Shimen, Miss Liu. She has already started to suspect me. If we don't find a way soon, she definitely won't let me off. A hint of pity flashed in the woman's eyes. No longer hesitating, she immediately grabbed my hand and left. I looked back. As expected, Tang-san was staring blankly in the direction we left. In the cafe, I caught a glimpse of that sneaky figure behind the tree. I deliberately cried out, oops, spilling a few drops of coffee. How could you be so careless? Liu Shiman immediately leaned over to help me wipe it. I deliberately tilted my body. From Tang San's perspective, it looked like the two were leaning close together. Thinking the timing was about right, I sent Liu Shiman away. I stayed in the booth and waited for a while. Sure enough, before long, Tang San rushed in aggressively. Yi Feng, how dare you seduce Liu Shiman behind my back? Don't forget you are a married man now. I shrugged, not caring. So what if I'm married? Who says one can't get a divorce or something? Little brother, you probably won't understand in this lifetime. Like us handsome guys. Troubles your sister Shiman is really too enthusiastic. I find it hard to handle too. After saying that, I turned the Rolex on my wrist, leaving her a dashing back view, leaving her all alone, with a livid face. Back home seeing my beautiful wife. I couldn't help but start clicking my tongue in praise. Like this kind of top-tier beauty. Even if it's a sculpture, just sitting there, it can also make one feel pleasant. Wife, I'm back. Lu Ruoyan didn't stand firm. Bumped into my arms. A facet-of-face kill. She pushed me away with a grim face. Pointing at the desk, there were several photos on it. Exactly the intimate photos of me and Liu Shiman in the cafe just now. You sent someone to tail me. She took out her phone. It's not that entailing you. But from the moment you married into the Liu family, there have been countless eyes watching. Things like this. I don't want them reaching my hands a second time. Liu Ruoyan slowly tore those two photos bit by bit into pieces. There wasn't a trace of extra expression on her face. Neither sad nor happy. As if not affected in the slightest. Slightly pursed lips. Only then revealed her true mood at this moment. I pretended to be a bit surprised. Then wife, you wouldn't be angry, right? No way, no way. Could it be that the eldest Miss Lai would actually be jealous? The woman became even more depressed. Gave me a resentful glare. Then quickly pounced over and gave my chin a hard bite. I cried out in pain, but didn't push her away, instead grabbing her slender waist. Just kidding, my wife throwing herself into my arms. Who could refuse that? She seemed not to have expected this outcome. Looking at me blankly, I stared at her red lips and gave them a peck. Chuckled. Thanks for the kiss, wife. Then she got even angrier. When night came, she seemed to still be holding a grudge, saying she wanted to punish me. Her way of punishing was to make me stay in an empty room alone. Have to say, this woman really has something. But just that night, Liu Shiman called me, complaining about Tang San's lack of tact, being immature. Tang San had just been provoked by me during the day. Immediately, started frantically forcing Liu Shiman to take him back to the Liu family, demanding an immediate engagement. But Liu Shiman hasn't gained a firm footing in the Liu family yet. She doesn't even have the right to decide her own marriage. She simply couldn't agree. But how could Tang San listen to any of it? He just assumed she was unwilling to marry him. And it was just a random excuse. The two had a big fight, and finally parted on bad terms. Then it was time for my performance. I immediately started with the manipulative tea talk. Little Sam, how could he be like this? Sister Shiman is exactly at a hard time. He is pressing so hard at a time like this. You really don't understand your sister's painstaking efforts at all. Silence on the other end for a while. Then a voice mixed with the smell of alcohol slowly came through. Brother Feng, I knew you were the one who understood me best, giving you a bit of face. And you actually dared to take it. I braced myself and coaxed him a few more times before hanging up, imagining the good show that was about to start soon. I was too excited to sleep. Of course there was someone who seemed even more unable to sleep than me. Until the middle of the night. In the hallway from time to time, footsteps could be heard. Someone seemed to be intentionally staking out somewhere, delaying going back to the room to sleep. But I just wouldn't let him have his way, and simply didn't go out. I don't know how much time passed. The nanny's exclamation sounded outside the door. Eldest miss, why are you still out here so late at night? It's really too dangerous. I peeked through the crack in the door. Li Ruoyan was acting bashful. That, even the nanny encountered. Misses her husband. There's nothing to be embarrassed about. Come, I'll take you to young master. Yes, room right now. Saying that she was about to lead Li Ruoyan over. No need. The woman who never flinched in the business world suddenly had a huge change in expression. Turned around and fled. Not paying attention, she bumped her head on the door. I felt a bit soft-hearted, and was about to open the door to go out. But she was like a mouse seeing a cat, and dashed into the room in a flash. Early the next morning, I was woken up by the persistent life-threatening calls from Liu Ruoyan's assistant. Do you want to die? I had already bribed this assistant in private. If there's any movement from Liu Ruoyan, he would report to me in time. But, after, affected by my morning grumpiness, I forgot for a moment. Until he spoke. It turned out Tang San was even more impatient than I imagined. He thought of a stupid way. Using Liu Shiman's business to force her to agree to an engagement. He intended to intentionally disrupt the meeting. I heard Liu Shiman lost her temper with him big time. Even smashing their token of love on the spot. Completely breaking off. In the end, not only did the business deal fall through, but he couldn't keep her either. As expected of him, his IQ never rose above the horizon. Yeah, I got it. I replied haphazardly twice, planning to roll over and keep sleeping. Young master, how can you sleep at your age? The assistant suddenly spoke in frustration. Why? Why can't I sleep? Elaborate. Young master Tang San is younger than you, and has already started working hard for his future. For example, he entered President Li's office 3 minutes ago, deciding to seduce her. What? My brain instantly cleared up. By the time I rushed to the company, it was already more than 10 minutes later. Just as I stepped in the door, Tang San rushed out with red eyes right behind me, happening to brush past me. This is a bit different from the scene I imagined. Shouldn't the two of them be having red candles and fine wine right now? Talking about life and ideals? I suspiciously pushed open the office door. I saw the woman sitting upright at the desk, her face darkening, radiating the aura of someone long in a high position. Only after seeing it was me dead. Her expression softened. She thought I was Tang San returning. Liu Ruyan in front of me has always been gentle, even with some of a young girl's shyness. I rarely get to see her looking so tough, her whole being radiating an aura of keep away. So cute as expected of my Yifeng's wife. What should I do, dear wife? I think I like you a little bit more today. She naturally hugged me, burying her head in my chest, nuzzling again and again, lifting her phone. Why is it only a little bit more? Women shouldn't be too greedy. I chuckled, running my fingers through her hair. When I came to the company, I saw Tang San. What is he doing here? Mentioning this person, Li Ruyan's face darkened for a moment. Her cool fingertips landed on my face, while slowly tracing my features, while explaining how he imitated you, to try and seduce me. But his acting was too poor. Just a poor imitation. Before I could react, a shadow fell over me from above. Warmth on my lips. Breaths intertwined. My mind went blank. The only thought was that she kissed me. Starting from that day, Liu Ruyan suddenly changed. She turned from a noble and elegant heiress into a clingy person, often openly pestering me for hugs and kisses. Of course, we then lived a shameless life. As for how shameless it was, let's put it this way. Even someone like me started worrying she was indulging in beauty, coaxing her every day to go to the company, knowing there was still a malicious Lu Shiman, wishing to watch her 24 hours a day, just waiting for her to make a mistake. But Liu Ruyan never seemed to care about her, continuing to do as she pleased. Finally, that day arrived. The day to formally decide the Liu family's successor. A fierce battle was waiting for us. I was a bit nervous, griping Liu Ruyan's hand tightly. She was caught between laughter and tears, patted my head. Darling, relax a bit. Finally arrived at the Liu family's ancestral home. All the elders were present, with the determination of a hero making a sacrifice. I sat down with Liu Ruyan. Liu Fi glanced at us, and finally spoke. I announced, starting from today, I am stepping back. My daughter Liu Ruyan will officially take over all Liu family industries. My eyes widened. Just like that, she got the successor position so easily? This doesn't make sense. Liu Shiman, on such an important day, why isn't she here? Liu Ruyan smiled and explained to me. Hubby, the successor isn't just anyone. Admit the knowledge base my father's illegitimate daughter lacks isn't something that can be made up in a year or two. She was sent away by my father to a subsidiary long ago, and won't be returning to the headquarters. So that's how it is? The development of things, and what I expected, are completely different. Since then, I never saw Tang San again. He and his stepfather seem to have completely vanished from my life. Given their nature, seeing me gain power, it's impossible they wouldn't come to demand something. So I guess all of this was the work of my Miss Liu. Once on the way home, I suddenly saw the original host's mother outside the villa. Liu Ruyan and I looked at each other. She seemed to have known all along. There wasn't the slightest surprise. Just patted my shoulder and said go. I was just to the side, waiting for the woman to rush over and grab my hand. Her eyes filled with tears. Child, in the past, Mom did you wrong. I made you suffer. But I had no other choice. We, mother and son, had to rely on your stepfather to live. It's Mom who is useless. It's Mom who is sorry to you. As early as the day I arrived, the original host had already committed suicide. I'm not him. I haven't experienced his life. Nor am I qualified to generously forgive on his behalf. I silently pulled back my hand. And in the end, I only said, go back. Looking back, that woman who was like an angel was standing just 10 paces away from me, waiting for me quietly. I walked over and interlocked my fingers with hers, side by side under the sunset, going home together. The main text has ended. Below is the side story perspective. Not long ago, I finally found a doctor who could cure my voice. Actually, I've been keeping it from A Feng all along, wanting to give him a surprise. When I got through this long recovery period, when I could make the first sound, I couldn't help but chatter on about many things. By the time I realized, I found that everything I said was what I wanted to say to A Feng. I now desperately want to see him. Why is it that others can talk to him so freely, yet I can only communicate with him by typing on my phone? I'm going absolutely crazy. I can't stand it anymore. But fortunately, all of this is finally coming to an end. I received the location sent by Juyu. I rushed to his favorite dessert shop. Through the glass window, I saw him at a glance, picking out desserts in front of the display. I approached holding flowers, but a young girl suddenly popped up beside him, not knowing what was said to her, making her beam with joy. I felt a bit disappointed, so I went home alone first. He didn't come back until evening, but he just held my face and gave me a kiss, and then said indifferently, "Wife, you've worked hard." But in the past, even if I was only away for a week, on the day I returned home, he would be incredibly enthusiastic. This time I was away for a whole month. Yet his reaction was actually so cold. Once a man is no longer enthusiastic towards you, there is only one possibility, and that is he ate his fill outside before coming back. I knew it. That little green tea today didn't look like a good person. To actually seduce my husband. No, I have to find a way to win back my husband's heart. While showering, I intentionally made some noise to attract my husband's attention. After a long time, she finally reacted and asked very perfunctorily, "Are you okay?" Even though I left the door unlocked for him, he didn't even seem to want to come in. Sure enough, once a man has you, he no longer cherishes you. So I intentionally stayed silent and made even more noise. Husband finally came around and rushed in. The moment he looked up and stared at me, his gaze changed. He finally walked over, stood on tiptoe and wrapped his arms around my neck. I let out a low laugh and leaned close to his ear, said what I've wanted to say for a long time. "My dear, you bullied me for so long before